This is David Gillespie with Pumpkin Town Primitives, and today, come along with me as we look for the oldest dated gravestone in America. I think you'll like it. A big shout out thank you to David Malloy and Mark Ormerod of the Early New England Gravestones Facebook group. Thanks, guys. For those of you who don't know me, I carve gravestones with a chisel and mallet only. I've been carving for about 20 years now. There's no computers, no stencils, no templates. I draw each letter by hand and carve each letter completely by hand. So we're on a quest to find the oldest dated gravestone in America. Let's see what we can come up with. Could this one be it? What do we got here? 1687. That's old, but we'll have to go back earlier than that to find the oldest dated gravestone. Let's keep going. All right, in our quest to find the oldest dated gravestone here, we have one from 1680. Is that the oldest dated gravestone in America? That's old. But we'll have to go back before the 80s. But there's one from 1680. Let's keep going back to the 70s. Here's another candidate. What do we got here for the oldest dated gravestone? 1678. So we're in the 70s now. 1670s. That's old, but not quite yet. What about the 1650s? 1657. Is that it? Nope, we'd have to go back even older than that. But we're close. Here it is, 1644, the oldest dated gravestone in America. I've been wanting to see this for years, many, many years. So here we found it. This is, in my opinion, the oldest dated gravestone in America. Now, if you come out here at 9:30 in the morning like we have, you can see there's writing on it, but you can't really see it that well unless you get up close. So I want you to see the mirror trick, and I want you to see the difference between before and after. Here is how it looks as we found it, and this is with the mirror trick. See the difference there? We didn't have to touch the stone to get that. And Renee is standing just over there, hey there, with a full-length mirror that we bought last night here in Connecticut for $7 at Walmart. So if you don't know how to do the mirror trick, see a link in the description below on our mirror trick. I'll put a pop-up card up at the upper right-hand side. You'll be glad you did. If you're looking for content to put on your genealogy groups, your Facebook groups of interesting gravestone things, this is it. Please share it, please subscribe it. It's not often you get to see a gravestone that's 379 years old in America. So doing a little walk around of the table tomb, of the box tomb, we see that it has, looks like iron rivet that runs completely through to both sides to hold it together. And if I'm not mistaken, typically on these type of graves, the body is actually buried under the ground, and this just sits on top. I might be wrong about this on this stone, but that's my understanding anyway. And there's nothing on the top. It's blank. It was probably always blank. Here lieth Ephraim Hewitt, sometimes teacher to the Church of Windsor, who died September 4th, 1644, who when he lived, we drew our vital breath, who when he died, his dying was our death, who was the stay of state, the church's staff. Alas, the times forbids an epitaph. So as we start out, we see interesting spellings. This is 1644, and Webster's Dictionary wasn't quite out yet. It It's interesting to see the little period above the capital I. Hewitt. Couple things. The crossbar is almost interesting with its little curvilinear base to it. And then, of course, the V is a U, so it's Hewitt, H-U-I-T. And then notice on sometimes the M only comes halfway down. And then also on the W's, the middle portions of the W cross. I have seen that only on Scots-Irish gravestone carvers or English gravestone carvers. Now, I'm not sure who carved, if the Griswolds were English or Scottish, but I would be willing to have some idea that they were probably English or Scottish. I think this is an English cemetery, so that would make some sense. Okay, so while she's setting up here, notice the farther away she gets with the mirror, the larger the illumination. So this stone is massive. It'd be interesting to see if this is some relation to Cotton Mather. So look at this. I mean, it's a mass. It's over, I'm 5'4", and I'm standing here at it, and it's a good foot or more above my head. It's 6 foot out of the ground. So here's a good example of why trees aren't a good idea for a cemetery. Even though this is a modern granite, it still isn't doing it any good by laying on it. So if you're a cemetery sexton or you're in charge of a cemetery, this is what happens when trees are in the middle of a cemetery. And there's nothing you can do about it other than cut it down before or cut it down off of the stone. Notice also that the 6 starts at the top and loops its way around. And the 4s are always descenders. That means they come below the line. And the 6 comes above the line. And then we have another interesting thing here. The W in the italic is a stylized W. Also on the top line, the word sometimes, notice that the M and the E shares a stem. That's called a ligature. Now, if I as a stone carver take, let's say, 15 minutes to carve an upright, and I can do that little trick several times along the face of this stone, that's saving me time, saving money. So, but the mind and the brain reads it just the same sometimes. And notice you ran out of room here, so the R goes up top, teacher. It's also my understanding that Matthew Griswold would have been the carver of this stone, and possibly George. George may have been too young, so, but for sure this is most likely the product of the shop of the Griswolds. Now that I'm here, I can see why I think the Lord has preserved these letters. The man that carved it, the Griswolds, there's a lot of genius behind this. So first of all, the tabletop tomb. That has kept the water dripping down here in a large degree. So that's element number 1 working in its favor. Number 2 is the actual field of letters itself has been cut into the stone about 3/4 of an inch deeper. So the actual stone itself has its own ledge here that is allowing the water to continuously drip off of it, except in a blowing rain, of course. So those 2 things there, plus the fact that it's vertically arranged and not laying flat, has contributed to its ability to last a long, long time. That's why I'm not a big fan of stones that lay flush to the surface of the earth, because grass encroaches and it just completely, one day, that stone will be completely hidden. If old gravestones interest you, then please consider subscribing and giving us a thumbs up, and I would appreciate it. There is an older dated gravestone in Boston area. It's a slate, it's 1625, but to me it's obvious that that stone was backdated based on the style. If you guys know of any older gravestone in America that's dated from before 1644, please let me know. I'd love to hear about it. There are some possibilities, but I personally think that this is the one. I think for many years this one has been billed the oldest dated gravestone in Connecticut, which I'm sure it is, but I believe that it could possibly be the oldest dated gravestone in America, and that's very special. Another possible objection is the Knight's Tomb in Jamestown, Virginia from 1627. I was there in 2013, and as you can see, there's really nothing carved into the stone itself other than the place that would receive the brass shields. So there's no lettering in the stone, thus there's no date, thus it's not the oldest dated gravestone in America, as you can see. Okay, before mirror trick, after mirror trick. What do y'all think? I think the mirror trick wins out, and that's all there is to it. You gotta have a beautiful helper just like Renee, and a lot of tricks with the mirror. $7 mirror from Walmart. What do y'all think? Another interesting thing is, even though this is 1644 and the letters are that crisp, and we have the benefit of the ledge up top that we were talking about, over there, the stone from 1657 doesn't have all those benefits, and it looks just as good. So it may just be providentially arranged that this should be here, as well as it's an upright, so it's not flat. So maybe the ledge and the incised carving doesn't have as much to do with its longevity as I thought. But this is a brown stone, and it has certainly served its purpose. This stone is 379 years old. That is old. I've been sitting cross-legged in front of gravestones for many years, but especially in front of one like this, where you don't get to see it very often. I'm about 900 miles from home up here in Connecticut. If you're not familiar with the mirror trick, I'll leave a link in the description below, and I'll try to pop a card up right about here so that you can grab that and watch it. The mirror trick has had, I think, about 500,000 views now, and it's the latest craze, but we were taught it at the AGS conference many years ago. I encourage you to check out the mirror trick. Hey, I just wanted to show you where Renee and I found on the side of the road out here. This stone marks where Jonathan Edwards preached the sinners in the hands of an angry God sermon here in Enfield, Connecticut. So it wasn't but 12 minutes away from where we were, so I thought, why not? So New England was changed by the sermon preached here that the Holy Spirit used in a big way, and it said the meeting house would have stood right here on this intersection of the Post Office Road and Enfield Street. So here we are where Jonathan Edwards preached in 1741, sinners in the hands of an angry God. If you're like me and you love 18th century gravestones, please check out my book, A Brief Treatise on Tomb and Gravestones of the 18th Century. I'll leave a link in the description below. Thank you for watching. Please share with your friends.